I know exactly what I want to do. I figured it out. And she was like, what do you want to do? I want to join the United States Army. No, you're not. That's literally how it happened. No lie. That's literally how it happened. She shot it down. Why did she shoot it down? I graduated high school in May of 2002. A lot of you may remember that a few months before that, 9/11 happened. We already had troops in Afghanistan, and there were rumors of troops possibly going over to Iraq. To Iraq. At the same time, my mother came over to the United States in the early 80s. There was a war happening there. At the same time, when I was 3 years old, my mother actually lost one of her daughters. One of my sisters passed away. So my mother was looking at it that I know what war is about, and then my son is possibly going to go there. I've already lost a child. And even the possibility of maybe losing another one. No. So no, you're not. I said, I'm 19 years old, because I turned 19 right after I graduated. I'm 19 years old, and I'm going to join the Army, and I'm only going to do 3 years. That's it, 3 years. And then I'll get out of the Army when I'm 22 years old, and even though it's a little bit later, it can still work. I'll go to college. I'll go to college because I have the credits and I'll have the money, and I'll be able to play 3 or 4 years of college football. And then from there, I'll jump into the pros, and I'll be 25 or 26 years old. A little late, but it can still work, Mom. So I went to basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia, and I got there, 19 years old, and I was looking at Fort Benning basic training like a big camping trip with a bunch of guys. I thought we were all going to hang out, do cool things, learn how to do cool things. To my surprise, it wasn't nothing like that. Who would have known, right? To my surprise, it wasn't like that. All of a sudden, I had these guys yelling at me for no reason, telling me to get down and do push-ups. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? And they're telling me to do push-ups. And the first couple of hours that I was there, a couple of drill sergeants said a couple of things. One of them, he kept walking around in between us, and he kept saying, "Dear Mom, I have made a mistake." Pretty much saying that was going to be my first letter home. And when I wrote my first letter home, it started that way, but then I had to erase it because I was like, my mom would be like, I told you. We can't give our parents that much, right? So needless to say, I get to my unit, I'm 19 years old, and I'm doing my job one day, because to me, this is my college. I'm having a great time. I have no curfew, my mom's not around, I'm living by myself, in the barracks, I have my car here, this is cool, this is my independence. I'm having a great time doing my job one day, and my platoon sergeant, the guy in charge of all of us, comes up to me, and he taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, and he says, "Martinez, I just want you to be prepared, because we will be deploying." 19 years old. And even though when I joined the military on September 12, 2002, even though I understood that war was a possibility, I never really thought it would be my reality. So, on top of the fact that I'm 19 years old, and one of the things that you are when you're that age, you feel invisible. And I say to him, "Sergeant, relax. I'm not going anywhere. I just got out of basic training. It'll be a while before I go anywhere." And I turn around to try to do my job. But then he told me to get down and do push-ups because I told him to relax, which is what you don't do. You would have thought I learned my lesson in basic training, right? 3 months of doing push-ups, but no, I didn't learn. So I thought me and him were cool like that. I thought we were on a first-name basis. Apparently we weren't. So I had to do push-ups, got up, and before you know it, a month later, that same guy that told me that now comes to me and the rest of the guys in our group, hands us a piece of paper, and the paper says that we will be deploying, bless you, we will be deploying to all, and it lists all these countries in the Middle East. And it says you will be deploying at any day now. And for who knows, you can be gone for up to a day, up to a year. And I had to find a way to do what? Adapt and overcome. And I just had to trust that the training that I received in basic in the 2 months that I was at my base was enough training that was going to get me through. On you to give us our ammo, our water, or whatever we need, your supplies, that's what you do. And you come to us and to the infantry unit, you say, "Listen guys, I need to get from here to here." We say, okay, we look at a map, we see the best way to get there, and we say, "Come on, sir, just get on the road and we're going to surround you. If anybody tries to attack you, they're going to hit us first." And we would get him to where he needed to get to, he would go off and do his job, and that made me feel good. Well, then on the 5th of April of 2003, we woke up that morning and we got a mission. We got our plan was to escort another group of these guys from the southern part of Iraq, where we were, up to a place called Karbala, Karbala, just south of Baghdad. We got to escort them to Karbala. When we get to Karbala, we turn around and we come back to our camp. No big deal. We've done this for a little over 3 weeks. So we look at a map. We say, okay, this is the route we're going to take. Let's start driving. Let's go, guys. We get to Karbala safely. These guys go off and do what they have to do. We're getting ready to turn around and come back to our camp when all of a sudden we receive this new mission, this new order that comes in through our radios from one of our commanders, another vehicle, and he says, all right, guys, you actually change of plans. We have to go meet up with a different group of guys just north of the city and go secure an area, provide security. Again, you're taught to adapt and overcome, and you make it work. We look at a map, we see the best way to get there, and my sergeant, he says, all right, guys, let's get in your Humvees. Where every Humvee has a sergeant, and so my sergeant of my Humvee named Hopkins, he says, Martinez, it's your turn to drive, jump in the driver's seat. I say, no big deal. I jump in the driver's seat, there's a guy, the passenger, who's the sergeant of the vehicle. There's a guy sitting behind him, Clayton, who's like the extra guy. And there's a guy in these Humvee, they had the big hole on top where the weapon's mounted. That's a gunner. It was hard. So we jump in the Humvee, and in life, I think what's really important is you have to be able to laugh. As we just did. You have to be able to make the most of any kind of situation. Sometimes you can't plan things in life, and when it kind of happens outside of your plan, sometimes all you can do is really laugh. So here we are, we're outside of our comfort zone, we're away from our friends and our family and the freedom and the things that we enjoy every single day. So what we had to do is we had to be able to laugh. We had to be able to laugh. So my sergeant says, Martinez, follow the first 2 trucks in front of you. No big deal, I can do that. The first truck turns onto the road, the second truck turns onto the road, the third truck turn onto the road. And all of a sudden, we start joking about something in the Humvee, and my sergeant said something. I remember driving and looking at him and laughing. Now, here I am. I'm 19 years old. I feel invisible. And so I'm driving my Humvee, this Humvee with one hand, because I'm cool. I have the window halfway down. The helmet, the Kevlar that you wear on your head that protects your head from any kind of impact is kicked up on my forehead just a little bit. If you would have saw me driving this Humvee, you would have thought that I was driving a Ferrari down Sunset Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. That's how cool I thought I was. So here I am driving this Humvee. We're all joking about something in the Humvee. And I remember looking at the road, and then my sergeant says something else, and I looked at him again, and I'm laughing. I look back at Clayton, laughing again. I look back at the road. By the time I reach the end of the stage, all of a sudden, boom! My life changed. What happened was the front left tire, the tire right under my feet, ran over a roadside bomb. It ran over this bomb, and from the actual explosion, it detonated everything we had inside our vehicle. So we had fuel, we had ammo, we had our personal gear inside the Humvee. So needless to say, within a matter of seconds, now that Humvee that was now driving and just moving along was now stopped and engulfed in flames. The other trucks around us all of a sudden see what happens. They stop and they jump out of their Humvees to try to make sure everybody's okay from our Humvee. And they find, okay, here's Hart, here's Clayton, here's Hopkins. Wait a minute, where's Martinez? Where's Martinez? Martinez is trapped inside of that Humvee. Martinez can't get out of that Humvee. Martinez is pretty much burning alive. I'm 19 years old, and I was pinned inside the truck, and the way I was pinned, I can actually see my hands. Now, if any of you have ever, if you get close to me, or if you see something on TV, you can see that my hands are burned. I can see my hands change in a way that you only see in those high-budget Hollywood films that we wash our hands and our hands go back to normal. My hands weren't going back to normal. I felt weak. I felt like I was going to lose my life. How is it that 1 second you can be driving a truck and laughing with friends and trying to make the most of the situation of life, and literally, you're fighting for your life? And pretty much what happened when that explosion happened is that everything that I wanted to do with my life was essentially blown up into pieces. I remember feeling my eyes. They were getting really heavy, and they would start to close. But I wasn't going out that easy, I wasn't going out that easy. And so I just hung on just a little bit longer, and I just fought, and I just said, all I got to do is hang on just a little bit longer to give the medics an opportunity to maybe come save my life. And I just kind of fought to open my eyes, and my eyes would open up, and I would still be screaming and yelling, and I would feel this heat coming over my face. And then a few seconds later, I would feel my eyes getting heavy again, and I would slowly doze off. After 5 minutes, 2 sergeants grabbed me and pulled me out of the Humvee, and I landed on the ground. I landed on the ground, and the sun is beaming down on me. The sun is beaming down on me, and I can see this sun as I'm rolling around, and I feel this heat coming over my face, and the sun is beaming down on me, and I feel like the sun is sucking the life out of me. My face is going through so much pain, so it came to a point while I'm laying on the sand, I'm actually reaching up with my hands, trying to touch my face, thinking that if I put my hands on my face, it'll cool it off. So when my hands got close to my face, all of a sudden my sergeant would come in and knock my hands down. I would pick my hands right back up, thinking I need to touch my face, I need to cover my face, it's hot. And when I got close, he'd knock my hands back down. He got down on his knees, he put my head in his arms, and he started to rock me as if I was a baby. Rocking me as if I was a baby, and his words were, "You're going to be okay, you're going to be all right, just hang in there, you're going to be fine." And those words should comfort you when you hear them. But as we all know, sometimes it's not necessarily the words that we hear, it's the way they're said. And I can feel and I can hear fear and uncertainty in his voice. All of a sudden I remember them putting me on a truck and taking me to a little area where they called for the helicopter to land, and I felt this breeze come over me. The helicopter landed, they put me on a helicopter, and I was burned 34% of my body. 24% of that was third degree, 10% of that was second degree. But I also had inhalation damage. For being trapped inside the truck for so long, I was inhaling all of the smoke from the fire, so I was just gasping for air. I had fractures all throughout my body. I had broken ribs. I broke. Days after I was injured, on the 9th of April, 2003, I arrived in the United States. I arrived in San Antonio, Texas, at a hospital called Brooke Army Medical Center. Get to San Antonio, Texas. I'm still in this medical-induced coma. 3 weeks later, I wake up to a voice of a man that I had never heard before. And this man is saying, "Martinez, Martinez, if you can hear me, open your eyes," is what he says. I slowly start to open my eyes, and my eyes start to focus on everyone in the room, and all I see is a bunch of men and women wearing green scrubs. Then I see my mother standing on my bed. I reached up as much as I could. My mom met me the rest of the way. We held hands, and the last thing I said to my mother before I jumped on a bus to go over to the airfield to deploy over to Iraq is I said to her, as a 19-year-old would, when you see your mother crying and upset, I said, "Mom, don't cry. Don't cry. They can't stop me. One way or another, I'm going to come back." I had realized already that I was no longer that 19-year-old athletic, strong young man that I remembered just a few seconds ago. I was now a 19-year-old baby. I couldn't pick up the remote to the TV and change the channel. I couldn't get up and actually walk anywhere. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't do anything. They call it the burn crucifix. My doctor comes. And because I was 19 years old, I then thought this. This might not be so bad after all. And because I was 19 years old, I then thought this. This might not be so bad after all. How beautiful is she going to look? Oh my God, she's going to be so beautiful, because they are, right? And so what happens is then I start thinking to myself, oh man, you know, we're going to have this chemistry. We're pretty much going to fall in love. There's going to be this amazing thing that's going to happen between the both of us. You know, it's going to be beautiful. There was a thought bubble next to my head, and I was plotting out this whole storyline. I was plotting out how it was going to be, and how maybe like in between therapy or whatever, or dressings or applying cream, she would say, you know, you did a great job today. You know, just little things like that. 19-year-old, this dude with this beard walking in my room, walks up to me and says, hey buddy, my name's Mike, I'm your nurse. No, you're not. I heard what Mike said. And then I said to myself, I'm ready. Now, growing up, I was always called a pretty boy. I was called a handsome young man. I mean, that's what I was always called. And so I kind of got into the phase of thinking that because we live in a visual world, we're kind of led to believe that this is what beautiful is. And I was so used to seeing something. I mean, I had the curly hair, you know, I had, you know, like, girls were like, oh, you're pretty, handsome, you know, whatever. And that's what I kind of banked on. And I didn't know what I was about to see. And I slowly start picking my head up. And my eyes meet the mirror. And I took a couple of seconds, just long enough to be able to really focus in on the mirror. And all of a sudden I turned my head to each side to see how bad it was. Now, what you see right now before you tonight is after 33 surgeries, is after 9.5 years of time, of healing. Mind you, this is a month after I was injured. There's a lot of open wounds. There's a lot of pinkness. There's a lot of parts of my face that are sagging. After I was able to register just a little bit how bad it was, I literally picked up my right arm and I pushed the mirror away. I pushed the mirror away and I became... Or you could possibly have gone through something tragic in your life. Something major in your life, but we all have something in common. We have all, at some point, have asked that question, that three-letter question, why? And I think the most frustrating part about that question is that when you ask the question, whoever you're asking, they can't give you an answer back because they don't know why. After 2 weeks of going through this, my mom walks into my room, as she had done the last 2 weeks. For visiting hours. She walks into my room and she says, how did you sleep last night? Very simple, basic question. But you know, when you're in a bad mood, it doesn't matter. The simplest answer comes out wrong. She said, how did you sleep last night? And I responded to her and I said, what do you care? And she responded back with saying, mira, José Rene Martinez, te voy a decir una cosa. Straight out, just like that, no lie. Now you know, because we all have mothers in here, when your mother says your first, middle, and last name, as they say in the streets, up there, it's about to go down, right? Exactly, it's about to go down. And especially a Hispanic woman that's 4'11", it's really about to go down. Now, I never really know how to describe my mother to people. How do I really describe my mother to people? I have the perfect example. When I got to basic training, they taught you how to do all these things. They taught you how to use these weapons. And one of the things they taught me was how to hold a grenade, pull the pin, and throw it. And I stood behind this wall, and they put a grenade in my hand, and they pulled the pin, and they say, okay, when we pull this pin, you stand up and you throw it, and don't try to see what's going to happen. Just get back down behind the wall. Take cover. Well, this is JR he's talking to. So what happens, he puts the grenade in my hand, he pulls the pin, I throw it, I get down, but then I get back up to see what's going to happen. Of course, boom, nothing really major, just a boom. And it clicks. Ha-ha. That's my mother. Because a grenade is so small, my mom's 4'11", right? And you think, what is this thing really going to do? Haley, when you pull that pin, you have 3 seconds to get away. And that's my mom. The minute I pulled that pin, I had 3 seconds to get away. But somehow, it didn't matter how far ahead I got, she caught me somehow. I don't know how she always caught me. And so my mom says, mira, José Rene Martinez, te voy a decir una cosa, which translation, as I said earlier, if you don't understand what I just spoke, it pretty much just means, look, José Rene Martinez, I'm going to tell you something. Now, this is what I repeated. This is what I answered my mother with. What are you going to say to me? What are you going to say to me? Because I don't see these scars on your body. I don't see your dreams and your goals and the things that you wanted to do all of a sudden completely taken away from you. My mother pretty much responded with this. Very softly, gently, she says, you have a lot of things to learn in life, JR. And you're going to learn every single one of those things. But one is you have to learn is that you have to believe, have faith, and stay positive. And if you do that, over time, you'll be able to understand exactly why this happened. And another thing is that I know you're worried about your look, because I know you're worried about girls. You're 19 years old. And I was like, oh, that's true. She said, but whoever's going to be in your life for whatever reason, they're going to be in your life for who you are as a person and not what you look like. Is that you have to believe, have faith, and stay positive. And if you do that, over time, you'll be able to understand exactly why this happened. And another thing is that I know you're worried about your look, because I know you're worried about girls. You're 19 years old. And I was like, oh, that's true. She said, but whoever's going to be in your life for whatever reason, they're going to be in your life for who you are as a person and not what you look like. The goal was simply to wake up every single morning and be as positive as I could possibly be and have a great attitude. And when I went to bed at night, the same exact thing. If anything negative happened in between, it was irrelevant. As long as I started and ended my day this way, I would be okay. And by April of 2004, a year after I was injured, I was selected to be one of 5 guys to be interviewed by the Oprah Winfrey. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm now 20 years old, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. How cool is that? Now, I never really watched Oprah growing up, so I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of Oprah. A lot of times I was in school, right? But all of a sudden I turned into the biggest fan when all of a sudden they said Oprah's walking down the hallway and I'm like, and she's walking towards us and I'm like this, oh my God, what's going on? I turned into the biggest fan automatically. Oprah comes in, she interviews me, I'm thinking to myself, really? What's the big fuss about me doing this? What's the big deal? Isn't it just the right thing to do for you to help the person that's sitting to your right, to your left? And then by 2005, this is my new long-term goal. I now wanted to be a motivational speaker, but I didn't want to be just any motivational speaker. I wanted to possibly be the best motivational speaker out there on the market, period, is what I said to myself. It didn't happen that way, and all of a sudden I started to kind of lose confidence, and I started to think that, what was the point of me actually thinking I could do this for the rest of my life? It was pointless. Maybe I need to start thinking about something else to do with my life, and I started to get discouraged and lose faith. I didn't believe anymore. I wasn't, I was still kind of positive, but I was kind of losing that too. Then in 2007, I got a couple of gigs here and there. Then in 2008, all of a sudden I was interviewed by People magazine because they were doing a piece on the 5-year anniversary of the war, and they wanted, a couple of guys to interview, and I was selected as one of them. And because I was in that piece, all of a sudden now I had more exposure. More people were calling me, come speak, and I'm like, all right, this is great, it's picking up for me now. This is what I wanted. I hung on just long enough. And now she's dating somebody, I'm dating somebody, it's not quite working, we split up. By Wednesday, because we're depressed and we're lonely, by Wednesday, I go back to the store to get a bottle of water, I grab the bottle of water, another hand comes in, grabs the bottle of water, camera pans over, we lock eyes, all of a sudden it's her, we're in love again. By Friday of the 3rd week, we're back married again. Now there's the cliffhanger, there's the weekend. Now Monday of the 4th week, I find out that those 4 kids that I've been helping put through LVC, I find out that those 4 kids that I've been helping put through LVC don't belong to me. That those 4 kids now belong to my great daddy, right? By Wednesday of the 4th week, all of a sudden we're angry, we're just done, and by Friday we're divorced again. That's 4 weeks of a storyline on a soap opera, so we have 8 more weeks to run with this storyline. That's what can go down on a soap opera. And so I was thinking to myself, my character can go anywhere. And so I was excited for 3 months, but then again I was afraid. Now why was I afraid? I was afraid because I thought to myself, I've never been in this section of the stage before. I've only been there. Now, it's 2011 and I get a phone call. I get a phone call from a producer that says, hey, Would you like to be on Dancing with the Stars? I say, absolutely. I have this amazing opportunity where my book is going to come out, and it's pretty much just a whole story of my whole life and everything that I've been through. It doesn't matter who you are in this auditorium. Doesn't matter what journey you've been on, what path you've taken in life. If there's something you want to do, go after it. If you have a goal, if you have a plan, if you have a dream, go after it. But understand that you need to stand strong for this plan, this goal, this dream. You need to believe in it. You need to stay positive as you're pursuing it. But as you're driving along this road, this straight road where you can speed and get there right away, all of a sudden there's going to be curves. And you're going to have to be able to bend, not break, bend. Just bend enough to go through these curves, to be able to go through that adversity. And once you go through those curves, all of a sudden there's a straightaway again. And you're beelining it back to this goal, this plan, this dream. But in order to accomplish that, you have to believe. You have to stay positive. You have to necessarily understand that you cannot quit, and that everything in your life leading up to that very moment has prepared you and has given you the tools that you need, that in case if you feel like you're going to break down, you have the tools to fix this vehicle again and get back on the road to accomplishing this plan and this goal and this dream. Does that make sense?